Good yogas for Cancer Rising. Jupiter in the ninth house, Pisces, its own sign, is exceptionally auspicious for Cancer ascendant. It aspects the first house, Cancer, third house, Virgo, and fifth house, Scorpio, forming a dharmic and creative triangle of strength. Jupiter's aspect to the Lagna blesses the native with wisdom, health, and benevolent nature, while its fifth aspect boosts education, mantra siddhi, and past life merit. If the moon, Cancer's Lagna lord, conjoins Jupiter in Pisces or aspects from a Kendra, the native is likely to be spiritual, intuitive, and fortunate in both personal and public life. Venus in the 11th house, Taurus, its own sign, forms a powerful Dhana Yoga. The 11th house rules income, gains, and desires, and Venus as a natural benefic here supports luxurious earnings, artistic social networks, and fulfillment through aesthetics or diplomacy. If this Venus is aspected by Jupiter from the third house, Virgo, or conjoined with Mercury, the third and 12th lord, it enhances writing and networking skills, particularly in fields like fashion, art, or digital business. The native could gain significantly through partnerships and intellectual or visual content. Mercury in the third house, Virgo, exalted, conjoined with Sun, second lord, creates Budha Aditya Yoga in its strongest form. The third house for Cancer rising governs courage, media, siblings, and self-effort. This yoga gives mental brilliance, communication expertise, and entrepreneurial instinct. If Jupiter from the 7th, Capricorn, aspects this combination, it provides a structured ethical framework, and the native becomes a high-level advisor, strategist, or leader in commerce or education. Moon in the first house, Cancer, in its own sign, when aspected by Jupiter from the 5th house, Scorpio, creates a Gaja Kesari yoga from Lagna. This blesses the native with emotional intelligence, nurturing nature, and high intuition. Jupiter's 5th aspect reinforces creativity, children, and dharmic tendencies. The individual may be gifted in counseling, psychology, or education. If Venus also aspects from the 11th house, the blend of grace and wisdom leads to both emotional and financial richness. Jupiter in the 5th house, Scorpio, aspecting the 9th, Pisces, 11th, and 1st, Cancer houses, produces a highly fortunate Dharma, artha, moksha triangle. This positioning is ideal for knowledge, higher education, and spiritual merit. If Moon is placed in the 9th and aspects the 3rd, Virgo, the native becomes a truth-seeking communicator with blessings from teachers and elders. Jupiter's 9th aspect to its own sign, Pisces, enhances moral integrity and long-distance fortune. Venus in the 10th house, Aries, when conjoined with Mercury or aspected by Jupiter from the 2nd house, Leo, brings refinement and prosperity in career. Though Venus is not naturally strong in Aries, its beneficence in the 10th gives appeal, aesthetics, and charm in public roles. When this Venus receives support from Jupiter, the native may rise in professions involving media, finance, diplomacy, or beauty industries. The native earns public admiration and leads gracefully. Sun and Mercury conjoined in the 2nd house, Leo, form Budha Aditya Yoga, strengthening finances, speech, and self-worth. For Cancer rising, this conjunction enhances family status and articulation, especially if aspected by Jupiter from the 6th or 10th house. If Moon is placed in the 11th house, Taurus, exalted, and aspects this pair, it brings emotional fulfillment through intellectual wealth and financial dealings. Jupiter in the 1st house, Cancer, exalted, aspecting the 5th, 7th, and 9th houses, forms a Trikona Kendra Mahapurusha Yoga, Hamsa Yoga. The native becomes noble, wise, and protective. Jupiter's grace blesses love life, creativity, and Dharma. If the moon joins Jupiter in the Lagna, or if Venus aspects from the 11th, the personality becomes radiant and spiritually charged. Such natives often become guides, teachers, or caretakers who elevate others through wisdom and benevolence. Good yogas for Scorpio rising. Jupiter in the 2nd house, Sagittarius, its own Mula Trikona sign, forms a Dhana Yoga for Scorpio ascendant. It aspects the 6th, Aries, 8th, 10th, Leo houses, strengthening wealth, health resilience, and career transformation. This Jupiter supports wisdom through family traditions, ethical speech, and philosophical wealth building. If Moon, 9th Lord, is in the 10th house and Venus, 7th Lord, is well placed in the 12th or 4th, the native enjoys a destiny-aligned career with public recognition and spiritual prosperity. Venus in the 7th house, Taurus, its own sign, creates a powerful Kalatra and Kama Yoga. For Scorpio rising, Venus rules both the 7th and 12th houses, and in the 7th, it enhances charm, partner fortune, and sensual fulfillment. If this Venus is aspected by Jupiter from the 11th, Virgo, or conjoined with Mercury, 8th and 11th Lord, it gives gains through relationships, diplomacy, or foreign alliances. The native becomes graceful in dealing with others and may attract wealthy or influential partners. Mercury in the 11th house, Virgo, exalted, gives sharp intelligence in income generation, networking, and gains from skill. If this Mercury is conjoined Sun, 10th Lord, forming Budha Aditya Yoga, and aspected by Jupiter from the 3rd house, Capricorn, it activates a powerful Artha Yoga. This blend of effort, status, and gain makes the native a brilliant strategist or analyst, particularly in fields like finance, research, media, or corporate leadership. Moon in the 9th house, Cancer, its own sign, becomes a benefic powerhouse of Dharma for Scorpio ascendant. It governs fortune, father, and higher knowledge. If aspected by Jupiter from the 1st house, Scorpio, it forms a classic Gaja Kesari yoga tied to personal ethics, travel, and mental stability. This makes the person emotionally attuned to their life purpose, often finding joy in spiritual pursuits, teaching, or foreign travel. Venus placed in the 7th further balances this karma in relationships and public dealings. Jupiter in the 1st house, Scorpio, although not in its own sign, aspects the 5th, Pisces, 7th, Taurus, and 9th, Cancer, houses, forming a deeply dharmic trine of influence. This grants charisma, creative expression, spiritual inclination, and a deep love for knowledge. If Moon is in the 9th and Venus is in the 7th, this completes a triangle of benefic grace influencing relationships, dharma, and personality. Such a native often becomes a seeker or a transformative teacher. Venus in the 12th house, Libra, its own sign, creates a subtle moksha kama yoga, blessing the native with refined pleasures, love in foreign lands, and spiritualized creativity. If Jupiter aspects from the 4th house, Aquarius, or Moon is in the 9th, Cancer, the native receives divine blessings in solitude, art, or service-based love. This yoga often indicates a graceful spiritual path or success in international aesthetics, art curation, or compassionate healing. Sun and Mercury in the 11th house, Virgo, form Budha Aditya Yoga in the house of social success, especially strong as Mercury is exalted here. With Sun as the 10th Lord, this yoga becomes highly career-driven. If Jupiter from the 3rd house, Capricorn, aspects them, it adds philosophical grounding to their ambition. The native becomes a communicator of impact through education, media, law, or governance, serving society with disciplined intellect. Jupiter in the 5th house, Pisces, its own sign, aspects the 9th, Cancer, 11th, Virgo, and 1st, Scorpio houses. This forms an expansive trinal alignment that enhances spiritual intelligence, fortune, and personal influence. If Moon is in the 9th and Mercury Sun are in the 11th, the combination leads to career-based fame, wisdom transmission, and gains through legacy or publishing. This yoga is ideal for spiritual teachers, coaches, and intellectual influencers. Good yogas for Pisces rising. Jupiter in the 1st house, Pisces, its own Mula Trikona and exalted sign, forms a powerful Hamsa Mahapurusha Yoga for Pisces ascendant. It aspects the 5th, Cancer, 7th, Virgo, and 9th, Scorpio houses, granting grace in personal intelligence, relationships, and fortune. This configuration ensures the native has a spiritual, ethical, and expansive personality. If Venus, 3rd and 8th Lord, is in the 11th, and Moon is placed in the 5th, this forms a Karma Dharma Moksha Yoga, ideal for healers, mystics, educators, or creative spiritual influencers. Venus in the 11th house, Capricorn, creates a strong Dhana Yoga for Pisces rising as it governs the 3rd and 8th houses. When Venus is conjoined Mercury, 4th and 7th Lord, or aspected by Jupiter from the 3rd or 1st, Pisces, it enhances gains through writing, media, occult sciences, or business ventures involving aesthetics or finance. If Moon is in the 5th or 9th, this also builds emotional fulfillment through creative friendships and karmic social groups. Mercury in the 4th house, Gemini, its own sign, supports education, emotional intelligence, and communication within domestic and academic spaces. For Pisces rising, Mercury rules the 4th and 7th houses, so its strength here gives balance in both home life and partnerships. If conjoined Sun, 6th Lord, and aspected by Jupiter from the 12th or 8th, the native becomes a resilient intellectual and peacemaker, ideal for fields involving real estate, teaching, or negotiation. Moon in the 5th house, Cancer, its own sign, creates a powerful Chandra Yoga linked to creativity, love, and education. When aspected by Jupiter from the 1st or conjoined with Venus from the 11th, this produces a Gaja Kesari Yoga of emotional genius and spiritual compassion. The native may have powerful intuition, poetic gifts, or a nurturing presence that attracts children, students, or followers. Ideal for counselors, teachers, and emotionally intelligent artists. Jupiter in the 9th house, Scorpio, though not in its own sign, forms a strong Dharma Yoga by aspecting the Lagna, Pisces, 3rd, Taurus, and 5th, Cancer houses. When Venus is placed in the 11th and Mercury in the 7th, the person becomes a dharmic communicator and compassionate leader. This configuration helps in transmitting esoteric or deep knowledge, especially through transformational teaching or service platforms. Venus in the 10th house, Sagittarius, brings grace and popularity in the career sphere. Though not in its own sign, Venus here can create a karma-kama yoga, especially when supported by Jupiter from the 2nd or 6th. The native may pursue professions tied to aesthetics, law, relationships, or diplomacy. If Mercury is placed in the 4th or 7th, this blend supports work that balances public image with personal values, like creative leadership or socially responsible entrepreneurship. Sun and Mercury conjoined in the 7th house, Virgo, with Mercury exalted, form Budha Aditya Yoga in the house of relationships. This is especially strong for Pisces rising as it joins the lords of the 6th and 7th in a Kendra, bringing both strategic intelligence and charismatic leadership in partnerships. When Jupiter aspects this pair from the 1st or 9th, the native becomes a communicator of justice or wellness, excellent for legal advisors, doctors, or relationship therapists. Jupiter in the 5th house, Cancer, exalted, aspecting the 9th, Scorpio, 11th, Capricorn, and 1st, Pisces, creates an extraordinary Trikona Yoga for spiritual, intellectual, and financial growth. If Venus is placed in the 11th and Mercury in the 7th, this forms a Dharma, artha, kama, moksha blend, balancing all 4 aims of life. The person may be a teacher, guide, or author whose creativity and wisdom benefit the masses. This is a signature yoga for high-level spiritual professionals or philosopher entrepreneurs.